My older brother bullied my sister so badly that she moved 400 miles away and only comes to visit them for Christmas, but my parents were confused as to why they weren't invited to her wedding, so I told them it's because they did nothing to help her. So, my 37F brother Mike, 35M, is a knob. Always has been and always will be. He has been babied to the point of uselessness by our mom and dad, and that's made him an entitled slob. When he was younger, he showed promise playing rugby, which had my mom and dad believing he was gonna be a superstar. The problem was, though, that he never had the work ethic to fully fulfill his potential. However, this meant that he was the golden boy of the family and he could do wrong in my parents' eyes. He was a bully at school, which they brushed off as other kids making up lies, but he was an even bigger bully at home to our younger sister, Kelly 31F. He would constantly prank her, which basically meant he would do anything he could embarrass her, including things like pulling her dress up in front of the whole family at a wedding when she was 15. Mum and Dad just said it was siblings being siblings, but the rest of the family were mortified by his behavior. I did try and stick up for my sister and it worked to a certain extent, but after I went away to uni, there wasn't much I could do as Mum and Dad just don't listen to anyone. It got so bad that when she was 18, my sister gave up going to her dream university, St. Andrews, and instead moved to London to go to the Imperial College London. This was a huge shock to all of us as she had been talking about St. Andrews since she started high school at 11. When I asked why, she said that St. Andrews was too close to home and she would be expected to go back home more often, but if she went to London she would only have to go home for Christmas. This broke my heart. After she left, she did exactly that. The only time she was home was Christmas and when I got married. This really annoyed Mum and Dad as they said she was abandoning the family. I kept my mouth shut and just let them whine occasionally as I didn't want an argument. After graduating from uni, my parents expected her to move back home, but she didn't. She got a job working in southern England and stayed down there. We are from Scotland for reference. 6 years ago, Kelly met a great guy, Jake, 30M. The day she met him, she called me gushing about him, and I've honestly never heard her speak about anyone the way she does him. I've met him several times when I've gone down to visit Kelly, and he's great. Good looking, funny, great job, his family are lovely, and most importantly, he treats Kelly like she hung the moon. It's very cute. After she met him, she cut down how much she came home even more as she spent the first Christmas with his family, and then the pandemic happened, so she ended up not coming home for 3 years. Her first Christmas home, Mike started his usual spiel, trying to be their center of attention. When it didn't work out as well as he wanted, as most of the family were more interested in getting to know Jake, he then tried to prank Kelly. He got a big bowl of water and was going to pour it over her. Jake saw what was happening and stepped in front of Kelly, telling Mike to not even think about it. Side note, Jake is 6'3" and has been doing martial arts since he was 4, so he can be very intimidating when needed. Mum and Dad tried to play it off as a harmless prank, but Jake was having none of it. Mike started whining about it just being a prank, and Jake told him that if he pranked Kelly one more time, he would prank Jake by putting his foot up his arse and his fist down his throat. Kelly and Jake left about an hour later, but after that Mike, Mum and Dad all had an issue with Jake. Kelly hasn't been back home since. That leads us to now. Kelly and Jake are getting married. They sent out invites in February for August. However, they didn't invite Mike. Mum and Dad are obviously incensed by this and had a huge argument with Kelly. They threatened not to go, and Kelly just said no problem, she would get Granddad to walk her down the aisle. I went around to their house on Saturday with my kids. Immediately my mum started complaining about Kelly and the wedding. I sat and listened for a while before I'd had enough. I asked her what did she actually expect? Her and Dad have allowed Mike to be the golden child and get away with everything. Because of that, he can't keep a relationship, due to him thinking everyone should do everything for him. He can't hold down a job because every job is beneath him, and he's still living at home with zero prospects in life. The man-child is a bully who I don't trust to be around my children unsupervised. He bullied Kelly for most of her teen years, and her only escape was to move over 400 miles away and never come home. My mum got very quiet and then asked me to leave. A few hours later my dad called, going mad because I'd upset my mum and was taking the side of an ungrateful little girl instead of my parents who gave me everything. This started a huge argument between me and him, where I told him he'd been a crap dad to Kelly and didn't deserve to walk her down the aisle. I've just had enough, but now I've got extended family members telling me I've gone too far, as my mum is barely speaking to anyone and keeps crying. My granddad said it was about time I told them off, but my grandma is upset by all the arguing. So am I a jerk for telling my parents that they sucked as parents and deserved to be kicked out of my sister's wedding? Commenter, your mom's tears are her own doing. She ignores her daughter being treated like trash for years, and then instead of owning it she tries to play the whole woe is me, I'm crying so you can't possibly be upset with me. It's actually pathetic, and your sister is better off far away from your family. Maybe you could join her and also get away from the toxicity. Not a jerk. Update 1. Hi all, that post took off a lot more than I thought it would. There was way too many comments for me to respond to, but I tried to read every one of them. I was asked for an update, so here it is. There were a few things that came up repeatedly, so I'll address them first. The pranks only started after I had left and gone to uni. He would say things to Kelly and I would have a go back at him when we were younger, but it wasn't anything more than that until after I'd left home, so there wasn't anything I could really do to stop it. I did speak to our parents, but they're useless. Second thing was about my kids. I didn't bring my kids around them very much as they didn't like going to my parents' house. They said it was boring and they don't like Mike. However, after all the comments I got about this, I sat them down and asked them again. For my daughter, it really is just that she finds it boring and says that Mike is a weirdo. My son, however, said that he doesn't like being around my dad as he keeps trying to make him play rugby. I have heard these comments and told my dad to drop it, but he would still make the comments occasionally. I had no idea that it was upsetting my son though, so this surprised me. My son doesn't like sports, be it watching or playing. He's very much like his dad in that regard. He's a Pokemon kid, playing online, and goes every Thursday evening to play in a tournament at our local card shop, so rugby is an absolute no-go for him. The third thing was about security at the wedding. I spoke to Kelly and Jake said that 2 of his groomsmen are police officers who are aware of the situation, so that won't be a problem. Lastly, there was a lot of comments about Mike being the golden child. For a bit more backstory, he wasn't really the favorite until his talent in rugby came to light. After that, he was special and had to be treated that way. I think he was seen as mom and dad's way of being special themselves within the family as they had such a super talented child. Anyway, today, I decided to sit down with my parents and tell them I needed a break from them. When I got there, my dad immediately wanted me to apologize to my mom, but I said that wasn't going to happen. There was a bit of back and forth between him and I until my mom stepped in and asked why I was there if not to apologize. I told them that I'd spoken to Kelly and she didn't want them at the wedding at all. That they needed to stay away and respect her decision. They weren't happy but said they wouldn't go where they weren't wanted. I then told them I wanted space until after the wedding as I couldn't keep being around them and keeping my mouth shut. I thought that space would be good for all of us. My mom wasn't happy and started on about seeing my kids. I told them the truth. My kids hated coming to their house and told my dad exactly why my son doesn't want to be around him. He got upset by this and said that rugby would be good for him. I shut that down and said I'm not going to force my son to do something he does want to and something I know he will hate. I also told him that if I hear him mention it around my son again, then he won't see my son again. Right now they will only be seeing my kids at family events, so I'm hoping that it won't be a problem. I then asked them what their long-term plan was with Mike. Are they going to keep things the way they are until they're 90 and mom will still be making all his meals? What happens when they're gone? Who will look after him because it won't be me? What happens if they get ill? Who will look after them? Mike is incapable. Kelly lives down south and I plan on moving back to my husband's hometown 3 hours away once the kids have left home, so I can't do it. They just looked at me blankly. I really don't think that they had ever even thought about any of that before. I told them they had set Mike up to fail and now they needed to deal with it. I also told them I knew that they were leaving everything to him in their will, but that with how they have babied Mike, he would blow through that money in less than a year and then what? I could see the panic in my mom's eyes when I said that. She either hadn't thought about it or she thought I would look after him, which she now knows isn't gonna happen. I also think she was shocked that I knew about their will. After me telling them what low contact with me was going to look like going forward and them not being happy about it, I left. Hopefully I've given them a lot to think about. I will check in with them from time to time, but that's all right now. I'm going to visit Kelly in the next couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. My extended family have also backed off after I sent them all a text saying if they were so concerned about my mom then they could be her support system and deal with Mike the same way Kelly and I have had to for years. Not surprisingly, none of them wanted to. Otherwise, I'm going to just try and get on with things as normal. Thanks for the not a jerk verdict and all the advice, it opened my eyes to a few things that I've been brushing off. Commenter, did I miss something in this or the original post? Is Mike disabled in some way? Why on earth would Op's parents assume he'll just keep living with them until they die and then need someone to look after him? Most parents with failure to launch children they keep sponsoring seem to assume that something will magically happen to make them grow up and act like functional adults any day now. OP, no, he isn't disabled at all. My parents just keep saying he's finding himself. Update 2. So Kelly got married last weekend and everything went without a hitch. Our parents and Mike didn't even try to attend, but I know that Mom did try and contact her a few times before the wedding via other family member. Kelly wasn't interested and made that clear by not responding and or threatening the family member that they would be uninvited as well. That put an end to it. Mike is still a drain on society according to a cousin of ours. I don't know firsthand as I've not been in contact with him at all. I've spoken to Mom and Dad once since the last post and they haven't changed, so I don't have the energy to deal with them. My kids don't miss them one bit either, so it's not been a problem keeping the kids away from them. Right now, I'm just going to get on with my life with my husband and kids. I've been talking to Kelly a lot more since all of this, which is a huge positive to come out of it. Sorry that there were no dramatics, like Mike and our parents trying to storm the wedding, but everything went smoothly. Thanks for all the comments and advice in my previous posts. Commenter: Imagine having a child smart enough to get into St. Andrews and Imperial College, both ranked in the top 10 for UK universities, usually right after Oxford and Cambridge, but you ignore her in favor of the unemployed layabout because he had a passing talent at a sport you like.